We did all sorts of stuff. We threw stones at each other, we threw each other into sand, we wrestled in the sand, we did a lot of stuff. So I have had a decent childhood. I have had a childhood that was also full of anxiety, a lot of bottled up feelings of being judged. Basically, I hated being judged. I hated it when adults asked, which standard are you in? And my mom says, tell them. So I say, 7th standard. And then the next question, I dreaded it, I hated it. How many marks did you get? Or did you get good marks? Oh, fuck you, man. Why are you concerned with my marks? Just let me be. But then my mother would say, he got first class. I used to just manage 60%. I used to flunk a couple of subjects, Hindi mainly. I didn't like talking about it. I just didn't want them to judge me on that. So kids I don't know about you, some of you have been super successful maybe. There are a lot of people who are super successful and they give the rest of us an inferiority complex. The kids who were super successful in class, I wasn't happy talking about them to my parents. Because they would say, oh, Mahesh, bring his report card. Bring Mahesh's report card so that I can compare your report card with Mahesh's report card. Fuck, man. I am me and Mahesh is Mahesh. Don't compare. But, well, that's life. That's the world. That's how parents do things. You go home with your report card, you expect to get a scolding. There was a lot of anxiety around that, and I grew up. And I managed to kind of let go of anxiety. When I was a kid, I used to have this mental dialogue going on and on in my brain. I used to always think about how to justify myself to my parents. Like if I'm 15 minutes late from school, I used to come home on a bicycle. Or half an hour late coming home from school. At first, I used to try to justify those 15 minutes or half an hour coming late. But nobody was asking. I was saying I did this, I did that, and teacher told me to stay after school, and she told me math problems, and I would construct these very elaborate lies. Nobody wanted to know those lies. Most of the time, nobody cared. Mom didn't ask, dad didn't ask. So you are here. Okay, fine. You are late. Okay, fine. That's how it went, usually. But for a long time, I used to construct these lies. And it used to give me a lot of stress. Until one day I said, fuck all this. I don't want to do that. There was this voice inside my head, kind of a thing. I don't know, some of you may have it. You may understand what I'm talking about. So you got two voices. One is the one justifying and the other one is the one asking for justifications. So I had these two voices inside my head. The one asking for justifications was not my mom and dad. It was just a voice asking for justifications, asking me to justify myself for anything that I did, anything that I said. And one day when I was studying for 10th, I was sitting on the terrace. It was a super bright afternoon. The sunshine was so bright, I couldn't read the letters of the book. I had to squint my eyes to read the letters. I was sitting on the terrace in that hot blazing afternoon, sitting next to the water tank of our tenement. And suddenly I had this thought and it came to me like a flash. I said, wait a minute. Why have I been justifying? Who have I been justifying to? My parents never asked for justifications. Who the fuck is this voice? Who's this voice inside my head? I don't like it. Making my life miserable, giving me anxiety all the time. And I still remember standing on the staircase, coming down from the terrace to the ground floor. I made that decision. I said, fuck this voice, man. I don't want to justify myself to you. And simultaneously with that, there was another thing. I used to have to maintain an image before everybody of a serious guy. Of a serious guy who took life seriously. My nickname in school was professor. So something like that. I said, fuck this. I'm not a professor here. I'm a joker. I just like to do stuff. I like to do things. I don't want to justify myself to anybody. I don't have to justify myself to anybody. Not even to my parents, for that matter. And I shut up that voice. Bam! I just closed the lid on it. I closed that lid, that internal dialogue, stopped. Silence. Beautiful, comfortable, permanent silence. I still have that silence. I never lost that silence. So this for me was like a huge relief. And after that, I went on to have a pretty decent, adolescent life. I went to college. I liberated myself. I became an extrovert. Earlier, I used to be an introvert. I used to be always inside myself. I went out. I met people. I used to shake hands. I used to go out there and greet people and say, "Hi, I'm Krish." I used to meet just any stranger in college and I would introduce myself to him if I felt like it. So I did a lot of that. I still had a lot of inhibitions about girls. I had a lot of inhibitions around girls. And again, that was coming from my parents, my mom. If I ever talked with a girl, she kind of made me very conscious that I was talking with a girl and that I had an interest in that girl. And I got super conscious. So even in her absence, I would be very conscious. Even if she was not there anywhere on the scene, I was very, very self-conscious, very uncomfortable. And so my interactions with girls were very uncomfortable. And they were uncomfortable not because of any external factors. Whatever mom was, she wasn't going to be there all the time. It was uncomfortable because what was in here, my software, was fucked up.